What's up says, Fresh is why I stopped watching this show. I think Fresh is the reason why a lot of people stopped watching that show, I would say. Every time, again, I watch a video of these two guys, if I go into the comments section, or if I watch a video that, like, they're taking calls in, people will always talk about how useless Fresh is. And it really shows when you watch clips like this. Now, I'm surprised. Well, I was gonna say I'm surprised their podcast did as well as it did, but they had tons of women on their show, so obviously where there's women, there's gonna get views. They had a really good format initially. I don't think they have that anymore because their money isn't as great, but I could see how and why they got as successful as they did, even though Fresh doesn't offer anything to their podcast. Hey, what up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, but I am back. Today's topic, or today's conversation, is going to be about the Fresh and Fit podcast. Now, these guys, we haven't spoken about them in a while, and for good reason. I mean, okay, so when it comes to the Fresh and Fit situation, the reason why I want to talk about them is because recently Sneako was on their podcast. And for those of you guys who don't know, Sneako is kind of like a good friend of them, so he's often on there. I don't particularly care for Sneako or the Fresh and Fit podcast as a whole, but in this particular situation, Sneako actually looked really, how can I say this? Because I don't really care for Sneako, but he looked good in this exchange. He looked really good. He made Fresh look like an idiot. As you guys know, in most cases when it comes to the Fresh and Fit podcast, if you guys don't know, Fresh literally adds nothing to the podcast. I mean, if you've come across any clip or have watched any, I want to say, I guess, decent amount of time on the podcast, I don't know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of it, you will see quickly that Fresh, this guy right here that I'm adding on the screen, adds literally no value to the podcast. This has not been a secret. You can go through the comment section of any video of these guys and everyone will tell you. Myron is the one that usually is advancing the podcast forward and will actually make sense a lot of the times. I think he's a bit extreme and I don't really care for the stuff that he says, but he does make some good points. And you can tell that he does well as far as like a media personality and doing what they do within the podcast space. Fresh is the one that really doesn't do anything. So today we have this session that they've done where Fresh literally just looks stupid and Sneako looks like, I don't want to say genius, but again, he looks good. So I'm going to showcase that right here.
I just think these platforms have agendas and
here we go.
They have rules. And if you don't follow the rules, you're out. It's that simple.
Yes.
However, let's be fair here. In a house, you have guests that come every now and then. Some stay longer than they should stay, but they're here anyway. And you have favorites. You have your favorite guests, and you're also favorite guests like Sneako. And as a result, they come to your house, and you're like, you know what? Play ball, have fun. The ones that I like, I'll give you some warnings. You know what? Take your shoes off. Put them at the front door. You know what? You got your shoes on. Get out my house. This is a very simple example. I'm gonna give you.
Can you land the plane?
The point is that these companies have favorites, and if you're not a favorite, you're out. Either by something that you did that is kind of a gray area, or they may say, this person I don't like at all. Just ban him for this, this, and this, and make it very vague. And that's it. That's all it takes. Someone not to like you.
So I'm gonna stop it right there. Like, if you are still watching this, you're seeing that Fresh isn't saying anything that we don't already know, and Sneako is about to bring this up. So what you've seen of Fresh is literally all that he is on that show, on that podcast. He says things that we already know, or he repeats things that Myron says, his co-host, and so it's almost like I've seen comments where people have said like Fresh is the reason why they don't watch the podcast, and rightfully so. This is Sneako's response.
We know this.
No, you don't. You went all got banned.
Okay, that was 2 years ago. Like, and also when I was speaking about it, I knew what the risk I was taking.
But then, if you knew that, then that was dumb.
Okay, you realize that some people need to do this. Some people need to put things on the line, just like the guy you had earlier. Yeah, the whistleblower who's might lose his job to tell the truth.
Well, Sneako, I agree with you.
So, but what you're saying, like you keep saying, as if we don't know that there's favoritism on social media. Everybody knows this, but some people are going to tell the truth regardless. And if you don't have those people, the truth never gets out there.
Well, guess what? When you're banned, your voice. What does it do to your voice?
You're saying things that are so obvious that we know it gets suppressed and you have to go to different platforms, but the platforms are still there.
But the thing is, you know this and you still did it.
Yes.
Okay.
So what are you saying?
Some people might not know this that are making content.
Everybody knows.
No, they don't.
I talk about the ban quite a bit.
If they did, they wouldn't be getting banned.
Do you think Candace Owens didn't know that there's favoritism on social media?
No. What I'm saying is that like if they don't like you, that's the point I'm trying to make here. So if you're not following their agenda and they don't like you, that's when you're fucked.
Okay, who do you think doesn't know that got banned?
A lot of people don't know.
Can you name one who got banned who's telling the truth?
Well, I won't say their name, but someone close to us that we know very well.
Okay.
That was in Romania. I just think that people need to hear what's happening behind the scenes. And if they don't hear it, then they make content. Oh, I'm going to do what these guys do.
Right.
But there's risk involved with it.
You're changing your point. You're saying that we shouldn't tell the truth so that we cannot get, we don't get
what
censored.
What I'm saying is, if you end up making content that's not what they want you to say,
they will ban you. We know this, right? But
yes.
Some people have to do that regardless.
No, they don't.
Okay. All right. Okay. We can disagree.
Not everyone wants to be a martyr, bro. And
so you don't have to be a martyr. I'm saying if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But don't try to say that like it's something we don't know. People need to tell the truth regardless of what the consequences are.
You know, people want to make.
So do you guys see where this is going? Do you guys see what Fresh is saying and what Sneako is trying to say? I actually agree with Sneako on this. Again, this is rare because I don't agree with a lot of things Sneako says. I think he's actually quite ridiculous. But there is I respect a lot of people who speak the truth, even if it's gonna essentially shoot them in the leg, right? Like Candace Owens is, in my opinion, a great example of that. But even beyond her, there are a lot of people who, you're like, what, I'm going to speak the truth, even though I know I'm essentially going to be a martyr for this. It's like, I respect that because that's how the truth gets out. Again, like Sneako said, whistleblowers who are willing to put their whole jobs and lives on the line for something to get out. Like, what's his name? Oh my gosh, the guy, Edward Snowden. Yeah, I believe that was him. The dude who released all the information from the government or whatever, and now he's in Russia. Like, people respect and like people. Like, he didn't have to do that, and then his whole life completely changed after that. Like, I believe he's still in Russia, and from what I remember, like I think this was a few years ago when he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, like virtually, he was talking about how he had no he had no desire to come back to the States, and if he did, he'd get arrested immediately. But anyway, so this is sort of the direction of where this particular video is going, and just keep watching till we get to the very end.
RP content, right? They want to become RP content creators, and they say, oh, Myron Fresh, how do I do it? And we're like, yo, just so you know this, when you go into it, you may lose money, you may lose your channel, you may lose friends, and maybe even, your girl. And they say, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to do it no more. But they didn't know this coming into it. So I'm saying to the public, just so you understand, you follow this pattern, you follow this path, it can happen to you. What's wrong with that?
Okay, but you're saying it to me as if like I didn't know this before. You're like, you didn't know this.
No,
and that
you know why I'm looking at you right now?
You say it like you say it like we shouldn't have done it.
No, we both know you were warned and you still did it. And then
yes,
but they should know so that they can make a choice.
Okay, most of these people are not going to be content creators.
How do you know?
Okay,
you don't know who's watching.
The bigger point is that no matter what happens, tell the truth. Do not let these people hold your balls and let you and decide what you believe is true and what's not as true.
Who are these people?
Okay, Fresh. We know the people that run the platforms.
See, this is why I differ from your opinion and your thoughts, because I think everyone should make a choice. It doesn't have to be always go down this path and be a martyr. I think you can choose.
You don't have to be a martyr.
No, but you're saying
I'm not saying you have to do that
at all costs and ruin things for yourself.
Some people need to do that.
Yeah, but not everyone.
Okay, so you
I'm
don't have
making an argument for people that don't want to do this shit.
Okay,
is that okay?
Then if you guys don't want to tell the truth, that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm saying you're shaming it in a way.
I'm telling the truth.
That's
fine.
Yeah, but your rhetoric is that you're shaming it away. Like, you should have done this. Or you could have made more money. You could have had Twitter. You could have had Snapchat. You could have had YouTube. Whatever. You lose it, and then you still do it anyway.
Okay, so before I skip to the end of this video, we're going to go through the comment section to see what people have to say about this as a whole. What's up says, Fresh is why I stopped watching this show. I think Fresh is the reason why a lot of people stopped watching that show, I would say. Every time, again, I watch a video of these two guys, if I go into the comment section, or if I watch a video that, like, they're taking calls in, people will always talk about how useless Fresh is. And it really shows when you watch clips like this. Now, I'm surprised. Well, I was gonna say I'm surprised their podcast did as well as it did, but they had tons of women on their show, so obviously where there's women, there's gonna get views. They had a really good format initially. I don't think they have that anymore because their money isn't as great, but I could see how and why they got as successful as they did, even though Fresh doesn't offer anything to their podcast. Fidel Castro says, I've been saying it for years. Fresh is the most replaceable man in media today. Wow, most replaceable man in media today. He just might be. I've actually never thought of that, but I don't think of them or really pay attention to this podcast as a whole. Bird says, Fresh is 30 years of age. Sneako is, 25? Bro, Sneako looks more mature here. Yeah, he really does. Sneako's making a lot of sense. I agree with everything he says in this whole podcast session as far as this conversation goes. Honestly, props to Sneako for keeping his cool. Fresh was being ridiculous. Agreed. Fresh don't even know what he's talking about. Agreed. Bro, it took Fresh 3 minutes to say you got banned because they don't like you. Yeah, we know Fresh has like a speech impediment. I don't make fun of people though. I don't do that. It's not cool. Johnny says literally Fresh has no right to talk about shaming Sneako. He literally risked the podcast 3 times and he doesn't even go to the gym. Dang, he's still getting roasted by the gym. I remember that being like a huge conversation at one point. But yeah, I mean the major fallout with the podcast for me are like at one point I thought the podcast was done was when he got that girl pregnant and she was gonna have the baby and whatnot, and that was like a big thing because it contradicts everything he would literally preach on his show. So his fans start looking at him sideways. That's like the only thing I remember that would put the podcast at risk. Anywho, I'm gonna take this thing to the end so we can see what Myron has to say about it all.
All right, I'll get my take. I don't think you made a mistake. Had you not gotten off of YouTube, you wouldn't have been resourceful and done other things and had other conversations and met other people. And meeting those people has definitely opened certain doors that might have not been available to you when you were on YouTube. And who knows what path you would have went down if you got more
like
and more famous and
Ye24,
bigger.
for example, like working with Kanye West, like that was like one of the dreams I had as a kid. That would not have happened if I was still on YouTube and I wasn't speaking about this. Like,
Yeah, 'cause you would have been scared. You would have been scared to even get on that whole thing.
the connections that I've made with people after, like post ban, are way better than the connections that I had before. Like Dan Bilzerian, for example, that's somebody that I've met through speaking about this subject and speaking about this topic. So many people like I think it's better. Like every decision I've made and the path that my career has taken since then has been substantially better in every aspect.
I would say that you're forging bonds with stronger bonds versus like if you had the fame and clout, like
then you have superficial bullshit.
It would have been superficial bullshit, exactly. So, I mean, yeah, man, I think, in my opinion, looking at it, I don't think you made a mistake. I think you did what you felt like you want to do, and at the end of the day, it all boils down to, can you go to sleep at night?
So there we have it. Myron agrees with Sneako. I agree with Sneako, and the consensus seems to be that most people are agreeing with Sneako on this particular session. Rare W for Sneako. I'll give it to him. I will definitely give it to him. And yeah, tell me what you guys think of this video as a whole. It was a lot longer. I just fast forwarded through it because I took the meat and potatoes of the video. They essentially got into this circular argument of Sneako speaking the truth, and then Fresh. They were in a loop. They were in a pointless loop. So I got the meat and potatoes of the video. And yeah, tell me what you guys think of the video. Tell me what you guys think of Sneako's take on this, and what you guys think of Fresh or the Fresh and Fit podcast as a whole. And I will see you guys next time.